All right. Excuse me. So, excuse me. This morning, I feel like we've been quite heavily physically focused for a while, and it's going to be a little bit more, perhaps kind of experiential, a little bit more sort of to do with subtleties, I guess. So, in essence, what we're going to do is move through the practice. We're going to start small, get a little bit bigger, and then get much bigger. We'll also be quite still, a little bit more movement, a lot more movement. And the reason, I guess, for it is, is sort of explore how the way that you move, the way that you hold your body, how it feels and how it can shift what you're feeling, but also how it can kind of provoke or promote certain feelings or certain thoughts or certain memories. The other thing is that we, so in yoga, there are 5 energetic sheets or 5 koshas, and they start, the most kind of tangible one that we tend to focus on is our physical body. And then from there, they move slightly outwards with your kind of your energy body, your thoughts, your wisdom, and your insight. I might not have got those right, but something like that. But each one moves out a little bit further and is something. So the physical body is the only one that is tangible. The others are all not wishy-washy, but I want to say ethereal, and that's not the right word. Anyway, so we will, of course, be using our physical body, but we're going to be exploring if we can get a sense of the space beyond. So can we move out of the physical body and into the space around us? And even when we're in the physical body as well, instead of thinking and labeling, oh, this is how I feel, and my right shoulder is a little bit sore, I think it's because I hurt at that time when I fell off my bike, whatever it is, and oh, what's that tingling feeling that I'm feeling over there? You know, instead of labeling it and getting really caught up in what we're thinking, what we're feeling, why we're feeling it, what exactly that is, trying to get instead just a sense of how we're feeling, a sense of what we're experiencing. And I guess that's probably key. Instead of thinking about what it is that's happening at that time, seeing if we can create space to just allow ourselves to experience whatever's going on in that moment. Yeah, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense, and hopefully it will make more sense as we go on. The final thing I'm going to talk to you about is drishti, which is your focus and your eye gaze. So in a traditional yoga practice, for example, in Ashtanga, where it's a set sequence, each of those traditional postures has a set drishti, and it's a place that you focus your eyes, and it might be towards your big toe, or over your index finger, or up to the ceiling, or to your third eye, for example. So we're going to explore a little bit of that as well. So, excuse me. Come to sit comfortably. I am using a block to begin with. If you want to obviously elevate your hips, you can do. If you're sitting cross-legged, if you could pop your right leg in front. If you're not sitting cross-legged, don't worry about it, and I'll let you know when we're going to get to this point. So settling into that seat. You're going to turn your palms down, whether they're resting on the knees or the thighs or resting somewhere else is up to you. But palms down, close your eyes. Have a moment to check in with how it is that you're feeling, how your body is feeling. But again, a general sense, a sense of what your experience is physically, energetically at this moment, as opposed to the naming, the labeling, the thinking that we're so used to. And then when you're ready, you're just going to drop your chin towards your chest. Now, we're going to spend a fair amount of time with the chin toward the chest at the start of your practice, or at the start of the practice. So, head is very heavy. If it starts to feel like it's pulling or it's just not comfortable, then you can, of course, find a little bit more support for the neck. So you've got sort of from neutral, eye line forwards or face forward, all the way down to chin, right on the chest. So using that kind of quarter circle, or that quarter or half, probably more accurate, at your leisure. So head is heavy, chin is toward the chest, eyes are closed. And is it possible to get a sense of where your eyes are looking? Maybe they're still sort of trying to look up a little bit. Is it possible through closed eyelids to draw your gaze down toward the floor, or perhaps even further inward? As you continue to sit and breathe, seeing if you can just continue to check with your gaze to draw the eyes a little further down perhaps, or just thinking, getting a sense of turning your gaze, again through closed eyelids, and turning your gaze inward. And then when you feel ready, keep your chin towards your chest, keep your eyes closed, but start to walk your hands forward. So you're coming into a forward fold if you want to remove any props or blocks. You can go ahead and do that. Again, head heavy, and as we're moving deeper into that fold, again, just a reminder that if it feels like it's slightly pulling anywhere, just lift the chin ever so slightly, find a bit more support for the skull, for the head. But still with the eyes closed. And just giving yourself a gentle reminder, as often as needed, to try and turn that gaze inward. Using your hands to help bring the body upright, keep the chin lowered, the eyes closed, but bring the soles of the feet to the mat and just hug your knees in. Maybe your face rests on your knees. Is it possible to get a sense of how you feel in relation to the space around you? Perhaps there's a sense of feeling quite small, quite contained. Then keep chin toward chest, keep eyes closed, but coming back to a cross-legged seat with the left leg in front this time. You might find that the head kind of keeps wanting to lift. Try and keep that head drawn down if possible. Still with chin to chest, still with eyes closed. Take your hands and just rub your palms together. So start to create a little bit of friction, a bit of energy, a bit of warmth between the palms of the hands. And then still with the eyes closed, still with the chin toward the chest, bring the hands to rest on your face. So it might be over the eyes, it might be cupping the sides of your face. Maybe seeing if the head can slightly rest into the hands. Just observing how it feels to sit like this. Same thing again, keep the eyes closed, rub the palms together. So you can really tune into some of the subtleties of what it is that we're experiencing. And again, hands to the face. And as you release the hands, moving into your forward fold once again. Check in with the jaw, try and make sure that the jaw isn't clenched or tight. And keeping chin to chest, keeping eyes closed as you walk the hands back in. And come to a kneeling position. So still, if you can, keep the head heavy, keep the eyes closed, the gaze turned in. But as you come to kneel, you're going to take the palms of the hands to the mat just in front of you. Turn the fingertips out to face the sides. Take the hands slightly wider than your shoulders. And then allow yourself, keeping the elbows straight, to sink the chest toward the floor. So you might feel the shoulders sort of draw in towards the spine. So you're propping yourself up on locked arms, so it shouldn't feel like there's too much effort happening in the arms and shoulders, sinking the chest, sinking the head. And trying, if possible, not to think too much about what it is that you're experiencing. You might notice in a very small, very subtle way that your mood changes or your thoughts go to particular places, particular memories. And from here, you're going to move into a child's pose, but instead of the arms reaching forwards, you're going to tuck the elbows in underneath you. So maybe move the knees a little bit wide, tuck the elbows underneath you, and again, rest your head in or onto your hands. You can come up a bit higher if you need to. You can come to the elbow, the forearms are raised. If there's any kind of niggling happening in the back of the neck or anywhere else in the spine, then maybe do come up a little higher. Notice if anything's happened to your breath. Perhaps your out breath has become extended. Maybe there's even a slight pause at the end of your out breath without effort. Just observing your experience. And as you start to bring yourself back up again, if possible, keeping eyes closed, keeping chin toward chest, you're going to tuck your toes underneath. And you're going to come into garland pose. So you're going to walk yourself back into a little crouch or a squat. Heels might be up or down depending on your body. But turn the feet and the knees out slightly. Try and make sure the heels are fairly close together. And then depending on what feels best for you, you're either going to relax the head and shoulders, maybe bringing the forearms towards the mat in front of you and try and relax the neck, or threading the backs of the hands behind you. So my upper arms are inside my knees. I'm draping myself forwards, chest toward the floor, chin toward the chest. If it feels like that, the arms are pulling you backwards, then again, just bring the hands back slightly in front of you. Then come into a more neutral position with the spine. Keep eyes closed, keep head heavy. Legs become parallel. You're going to find a little forward fold. And then slowly, when you're ready, roll yourself up to standing. Use a hand for support maybe, because the spine's been rounded for a while. Make sure you're using your abdominals. But as you come up to standing, keep the chin to the chest, keep the head heavy. And then still with your eyes closed, notice how it feels as you gently lift the chin away from the chest. Keep your eyes closed. There might be a sense of sort of relief that kind of trickles down the spine. It finds a more natural, more comfortable alignment. You might feel a little effect of the shoulders. Maybe noticing that little bit of extra space across the chest, across the collarbones. Again, how do you feel in relation to the space around you? Or maybe just more simply, how do you feel? You're standing upright with the head erect. And when you feel ready, keeping your gaze soft, just softly, gently opening your eyes. And noticing perhaps as you open the eyes, does that give you a sense that you take up more space, or perhaps that you're more enclosed? Maybe something else. So, standing comfortably, so I'd recommend feet sort of hip distance-ish. And we talked, I think, the last couple of weeks or so about the shoulder blades, so the scapula, these triangles on the back of the body. And I'd like you to imagine there are hands on the back of the body that are helping to move the scapula. So on the right side first, that shoulder blade is going to come up and it's going to be rolled forwards. And then it's just going to reset. And then the same thing on the other side. Again, so imagine that there's for me, it brings like a warmth. That hand is guiding the shoulder blade up and forwards. And you might feel a little stretch in the back of the body and then coming back to neutral. And keep doing that. So the shoulder blade comes up and forwards. And then release. Eyes can be open or closed. And try not to keep the head in one position. Allow it to have a little bit of freedom. And then gradually coming back to center and coming into quite a gentle chair pose. And the arms are just going to reach forwards. They're not coming all the way up. They're reaching forwards in front of you. You need to make sure you've got a little bit of support that's switching on. And then imagine essentially that you're kind of paddling or canoeing. So you're going to sweep the arms over one shoulder, over one leg, and then to the other side. You're going to keep that kind of figure of 8 action going. And the arms might be completely straight. You might keep the elbows bent. Don't worry too much about keeping a strict chair pose. Again, eyes open or closed, just noticing what's happening. And then coming again gradually back to center, come to stand in that neutral position. Feet can come together if you like, but eyes open and gaze steady. And then when you're ready from here, starting to make your way into a downward facing dog. So bring the hands to the mat, it might be a roll down or a ripple down. As always, taking time to get into your down dog. Find a little bit more space within the body. Of course, now we're taking up a little bit more space on our mats as well. Does your energy feel contained within your body? Does it feel perhaps a little more expansive? Again, notice what happens with your gaze, your drishti, your eye line. So you might have the eyes open and be very sort of consciously or intently gazing at one thing, one point. The gaze might be soft. The eyes might be closed. But how often do we really pay attention to what's happening with the eyes? And how does that affect how your practice feels or how each posture feels? You're going to come forward to a high plank position. And keep your gaze down between the palms of the hands. Of course, you can bring the knees down if you need to, but now we're in this slightly stronger pose. Is it possible to get a sense of the direction of your energy? Sometimes when things get strong, the discomfort of that challenge can cause us to kind of draw our energy inwards, to draw into center, which sometimes can be really useful. You know, we draw our power, we can really find strength by connecting to our center. Or maybe you get more of a sense here of the energy moving outwards, flowing down to the arms, to the palms of the hands. And then slowly bringing the knees down to the mat and taking it back into a child's pose, keeping the arms extended this time. And as you land in your child's pose, how does it feel to have the arms reaching forwards? Perhaps to be in a slightly more familiar variation, are the eyes open? Are the eyes closed? How does it feel to be in this child's pose? What is your experience? Starting to make your way, when you're ready, back up to a downward facing dog. Taking your eye line to the space between your hands and stepping your right foot wide outside of your right hand. You're going to start to move towards a lizard pose. So dropping the back knee and either moving down toward the forearms or maybe taking the arms wide, locking the elbows out and kind of sinking in the shoulders, whatever you prefer. There might be a different variation that you want to take. Keep your eyes open if you can. Look at that space, whether it's intently or softly, that space between your hands. And then when you're ready, with an exhale, with an out breath, allow your eyes to close and maybe for the head to hang a little more heavy. Open your eyes again, keep your gaze to the space between your hands. Coming up onto the palms, if you're not there already, keep your eye line down, tuck your back toes, lift your knee. Now slowly bring the chin further away from the chest, take your gaze forwards to the horizon. Take a little second to pause there. And then again, keep your eyes open, but bring your gaze back down toward the mat. You're noticing how it feels through your body as you lift your head, lift your gaze. You might feel a subtle shift around the back of the shoulders, maybe around the hips. Is there more a sense of power or of focus, perhaps? You're going to drop your back knee, step back to a child's pose, and from here, move through an easy vinyasa. So keeping the knees on the mat, bringing yourself forwards to a 3/4 plank, lowering the chest towards the floor, coming into a low cobra, and then back into your child's pose. And doing that one more time. So this easy, modified vinyasa, not quite as expansive, not quite as strong or as powerful, perhaps as our regular vinyasa. Maybe thinking about where that gaze is, what naturally or instinctively happens for you. Have just a breath or two in your child's pose before you start to make your way into a downward facing dog. And then from your down dog, again, taking the eye line forward, the space between the hands, stepping your left foot wide outside of left hand, dropping the back knee, and moving into your lizard pose. Again, keeping the eyes open, keeping the gaze down towards the top of the mat. With an exhale, keeping the gaze down, but closing your eyes. Keeping your eyes, keeping your head down, gently opening your eyes, coming back up onto the palms. Tucking your back toe and lifting your knee, keep that gaze down towards the top of your mat. And then when you're ready, lifting your face, looking forward. Little moment there. Keep your eyes open, relax the back of your neck once again. Again, noticing how that feels in your body as you make that physical shift. Lifting the head. Again, noticing how it feels to be in this position. Once again, dropping the back knee down, making your way back to a child's pose for 1 or 2 easy vinyasas with the knees on the floor. And once you're ready to move on from there, back into a downward facing dog. And see if you can make your down dog feel a little more expansive. Is there any way to feel like you are taking up more space? And that might be physically more space on the mat. It might come from a sense of your breathing. Are you aware of your physical body? Are you aware of your own edges, if you like? Is there a sense of being able to kind of grow into the space just around you? You're going to start to make your way up to standing, so it's entirely up to you whether you walk the feet forward, the hands back, combination of the two. But take your time, as much time as you need to come up to standing. When you get to standing, chin away from the chest, but I'm going to invite you to keep your eyes open for a moment. And then turn the palms away from your body, so whether that's more forwards or more out. Notice how that feels. Now close your eyes. Breathe into this shape, this space. Keeping your eyes closed, start to float your arms, raise them up towards the ceiling to a comfortable position, so maybe more of a V shape. Lift your chin, lift your gaze up towards the ceiling through closed eyelids. The eyes closed, face upturned, arms extended, arms rising. And as you gently open your eyes, noticing again how that feels. Relax the arms, relax the gaze. So I always find that when I open my eyes in that moment, even though perhaps I want to say my physical gaze, even though that's not a thing, my physical gaze is able to go further beyond my closed eyelids, I find that view of the ceiling makes me feel more compacted and more restricted. So yeah, just being aware, being conscious of the eyes and the information and the feelings that come with that. Okay, so we're going to come back to these shoulders, where the shoulder blade is drawn up and forwards, and then coming back again. So we're going to start to take up even more space. So now as my right shoulder comes up and forwards, I'm then going to circle that right arm in front of my face. It's going to kind of bring me back to neutral. And the same thing on the left. Shoulder comes up and forwards, and the arm swings and sweeps. So keep that going. And a couple of little things to maybe see if you can add in would be, instead of a controlled carried circle of the arm, would be a kind of a heavy kind of swing or throw of the arm. And maybe thinking of it almost like a Catherine wheel, a firework. So again, instead of stopping at the tips of the fingers, or like maybe splashing water at someone, that as that arm circles and swings, you're sending energy, sending something out into the space around you. And if that makes you kind of internally roll your eyes or just go, no, I don't feel that, don't worry about it. Allow yourself to feel those things. Again, it's all part of what we're doing is, how does this feel for me? Whether it's enjoyable or not, whether it's uncomfortable or not. Comfortable or not. Okay, but you're going to come back to neutral. And I don't know a huge amount about Qigong, but one thing I do know is that they work with this idea of kind of an egg or a bubble of energy that's like your personal space. So you're just going to take your hands any way you like, raise them up to the ceiling and back down to the sides of the body. They don't have to always go sideways, they can come forward, they can move in different ways, but your fingertips essentially are meeting the edge of your own kind of bubble of personal space that surrounds you. So it's bigger than you, but you're still in contact with the edges. But perhaps we can create a sense of taking up space even further than that. And again, maybe channeling, I don't know, superheroes or wizards or whatever it is. For me, it always conjures up these images of, like, you know, sparks or something coming from the tips of the fingers into the space around you. But when you're ready, the arms will come up to the ceiling, taking up loads of space. They'll come down to the floor and step you back into a downward facing dog. Just for a moment, just for a moment. And think about taking up space. And that might be up towards the ceiling. It might be, you know, 360 degrees around you. It might also be down into and through the floor. You're going to come forwards into a high plank. Stay on the balls of the feet and move into an upward facing dog. So we've got power in the legs, power in the arms. Pause there, eye line forwards. Can you be expansive? You're going to take it back into a downward facing dog. And then you're going to lift your right leg. So right leg sweeps high. Think about taking up all of that lovely space. Step your right foot forward and come up into a high lunge. Fingertips towards the ceiling. And the arms are going to circle back behind you. Brush the floor and circle again. And think about taking up as much space as you can. One more full circle. All the way back. And as the arms come up to the ceiling again, step to the top of your mat and shift onto your left leg. So you should now be standing on your left foot with the right leg lifted. Now we just take up as much space as you can, front to back. So my right leg is reaching forward, my right leg is reaching back, my right arm is reaching forwards. What the rest of the body is doing is up to you. What's going to allow you to feel like you're taking up more space. Come back to your balance, and then do it again. And I think, or just check in with your physical boundaries. Can we get a sense of moving beyond the physical boundaries? And again, come back to your balance. One more time, and taking up as much space as you possibly can, moving into the space around you. What's happened with your eye line? What's happened with your gaze? You might notice it's suddenly become a little more focused. Does that help? You're going to drop that back right foot, come into a warrior two just for a moment. So I'm just going to spin around for a second. Left toes forwards, right toes at 90 degrees, taking your eye gaze over the left arm, the left index finger. Focus now becoming perhaps a little more of a pinpoint of focus. You're going to straighten that left leg, turn 90 degrees to your right and come into goddess or horse stance. So toes out, heels in. Dropping down into the legs. And again, we're going to come back to these shoulders. The right shoulder comes up and forward and the right arm circles, swings across the face. And the left side. Again, trying to take up a bit of space. You're going to come back to center, straighten both legs, turn the toes forward, so feet parallel, and relax over the legs into a forward fold. Walk the hands forwards, look forwards, and as you take a breath in, a little lift up of the heels. Maybe the hands can creep a little further forwards again. With an exhale, you're going to send the heels back and down, dragging the chest back towards the thighs. So there's perhaps a deeper stretch through the calves or through the hamstring, but maybe also through the lats, through the shoulders. If you can, keep your eye line forwards, past the tips of your fingers. Notice what's happening to your breath. But walk the hands back in towards your feet. Pivot towards the top of your mat, so you're coming into a lunge with the left foot forwards. Now you've got two options. Option number one is to drop your back right knee and step the left foot all the way back behind you. So you're coming into sort of a mini wild thing variation. Where am I? Option number two is to keep the back knee lifted, come onto the little toe edge of that right foot, so thinking side plank, maybe eye line down to the mat to find your focus, find your balance as you step the left foot back behind you. From there, pressing the hips forwards, opening it up, and maybe your gaze changes up towards the ceiling. If it helps you to feel more expansive, maybe you close your eyes. But how can you send more energy outwards? How can you take up more space? But bring your gaze back down to the top of your mat. You're going to come back into a high plank and move through an expansive vinyasa. So the knees might still be on the floor. They might stay lifted. Maybe it's more to do with your gaze, your focus. Take another one when you get back into your downward facing dog. And again, try and think about being expansive, taking up as much space as you possibly can on your mat and in the space around you. As you come back to your downward facing dog this time, bring yourself down to the knees, sit up on the heels, bring the backs of your hands to rest on your thighs and close your eyes. Now, what is your experience in this moment? Now that we're moving more, now that we're taking up more space, maybe you feel a little more focused. Maybe the mind feels a little like it has more focus essentially. Maybe it feels a bit calmer. Maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable, a bit better in inverted commas somehow. Maybe your body was really enjoying doing a bit less. This might feel like a bit of bit of a challenge, a bit of a struggle, might not feel so comfortable. You're going to come back into a downward facing dog when you're ready. So opening your eyes, moving into your down dog again, thinking about taking up space. And particularly at the moment where we're sort of being conditioned not to take up space, that everyone around us is taking up too much space, how does it feel to actually kind of be encouraged to take up as much as you possibly can? Again, you're going to lift your left leg, step your left foot forwards, come up into your high lunge, and the arms are going to sweep up to the ceiling and take a couple of big circles. And again, maybe there's sparks or lasers shooting out from the tips of the fingers. And as the arms come up, stepping towards the top of the mat, shifting the weight onto your right leg. So left leg is free, left leg is lifted, and we're finding that space, that reach to the left arm and the left leg this time. And coming back to standing. And again, left arm and left leg, how much space can you take up? How far can you reach? And how much further beyond that can you reach? Can you extend? Can you go? Coming back to your balance one last time. Finding that reach as far as you can, as much space as possible before you pop the back foot down, arrive into a warrior two. Again, looking over the right fingertips. Before you straighten the right leg, turn 90 degrees to your left. And once again, coming into your horse stance or your goddess pose. And this time again, I want you to take up as much space as possible. If this felt good and allows you to feel like you're painting the walls and the ceiling around you, take that option. If you want to go for a bit more stillness, eyes open or closed, any other variation, give yourself permission to explore. How can I take up as much space as possible? But again, you're going to open your eyes if they're closed. Mine were. Open your eyes, straighten your legs, turn the feet parallel, take a forward fold. Walk the hands forwards. Once again, keep looking toward the tips of the fingers as you breathe in, lift the heels. As you breathe out, send the heels back and down, drop the chest back. So when we're sending out more energy, when we're taking up more space, does it feel like it diminishes? Like it takes away from you? And sometimes if you're feeling a little bit run down, a bit tired, then it definitely can have that quality of feeling like it detracts. But it also can have a sense of bringing more with it, of giving you more power, giving you more space, more strength. Again, it's going to depend on your mood, on where you are at. But walking the hands back in, walking towards the top of your mat once again, so you're coming into your lunge with the right foot forward this time. You're moving once again into your wild thing variation. So I recommend keeping gaze down towards the top of the mat to begin with, to keep your balance. Whether you're dropping the back knee and stepping the right leg back, or you're keeping on the ball, keeping the back knee lifted, coming onto the little toe edge. Find your balance, step the right foot back, and as you move into your wild thing, finding power from the feet, the legs, the left arm opening up to the front of the body. Are the eyes open? Are they closed? Before you then look to the top of your mat once again, find your high plank. Move through 1 or 2 rounds of an expansive vinyasa. And as before, once you've finished your movement, Come to kneel, back to the hands, resting on the thighs, eyes closed. Yeah, open your eyes, lift your bum away from your heels, and whichever leg feels most instinctive, so don't worry which one it is, step 1 foot forward and just come to stand at the top of your mat. Nice. Okay, so we're going to take this kind of chair pose. You know, we took that kind of figure of 8 twisting paddling movement. We're going to use a little bit of that. So find your chair pose and just take a few of these sort of twisty paddling motions. And then you're going to sweep your arms over your right shoulder. And as they come back towards the top of your mat, step your left foot back into a warrior 2. Nice. Now from here, eye line forwards and then take it slightly down to the floor. You're going to shift into a half moon. So maybe the back left foot comes in a little bit closer first before you then find your half moon balance. Expanding, extending through the spine, through the eye gaze, through your breath, through the arms, the legs. You're going to step left foot to the top of your mat, take the arms up towards the ceiling, and move into a little high release or a standing back bend. Coming back to neutral, sweep the arms over the left shoulder, bend the knees. As the arms come back to center, step your right foot back, warrior 2. Steady your gaze, take it down, shift into your half moon. Get lasers, sparks, fireworks, firing out of the tips of the fingers, out of the toes, the foot, the crown of the head. Coming to stand top of the mat, take the arms up to the ceiling, little high release, little standing back bend. Back to neutral, arms sweep over the right shoulder. As they come back to center, step the left foot back, warrior 2. Find that power, that gaze, take up space, half moon. Standing top of the mat, high release, standing back bend. Back to neutral, arms sweep over the left. As they come back to the center, step your right foot back, warrior 2. And when you're ready, into your half moon. Standing back bend, top of the mat. Back to center, once more on each side. Arms to the right, then stepping the left leg back. Half moon. Into your high release, into your back bend. And last time, arm sweep to the left, and then you step the right foot back. Finding your half moon, taking up space, strong, standing high release, standing back bend. From here, moving into a forward fold. When you're ready, take your time. And step back to a downward facing dog, moving through a spacious vinyasa, an expansive vinyasa. And once you're back into your downward facing dog, slowly bringing the knees down to the mat, just drop your bum to one side so you can swing the legs around and come to lie on your back. As you get down to lie on your back, mini Shavasana. Get comfortable, close your eyes, and just pay attention. Okay, getting a sense of how you're feeling, of what you're experiencing. If possible, trying to discourage the mind from thinking too much about it, from trying to label and name everything. Getting a sense of how you feel in relation to the space around you. Do you feel somehow bigger, somehow smaller, somehow at one, at ease? And then gently bringing the knees in toward the chest. Giving yourself a hug. And maybe bringing the head and shoulders away from the mat, bringing the nose in towards the knees as well. As you release, bringing the soles of the feet to the mat and moving into a little back bend. And where's your gaze? The eyes open, are they closed? Once again, bringing yourself back down onto your mat. Just taking a little pause. Your eyes can be open or closed. We are going to move towards Shavasana. But as always, is there anything extra that you need or that you would like before you get there? So you can, of course, choose to go there now and have an extra minute or so. Do you feel like you want to bring your gaze, bring your focus in, bring your energy down slightly, maybe hugging the knees in or sitting up for a forward fold? Do you feel like you want to open it up a little bit more? Maybe you're going to take another back bend or just a full body stretch. Maybe it's something a little more physical that you just want to kind of work out a little bit. As always, we're seeking maximum comfort. And bearing in mind that still might not be completely comfortable. We're trying to move into as much comfort, as much ease as we can at this moment for this practice. Before you take yourself into your Shavasana. As you get into your Shavasana, maybe having a moment, again, just to observe how you feel, how spacious you feel, how you feel in relation to the space around you. And keeping your eyes closed, keeping your body still, just becoming a little more aware of the space that you inhabit, space within your body, the space around you. Maybe taking in the sounds, the smells. Gently starting to move your body again. Any way that feels good. You start to find your way very gradually back up to a comfortable seat. Allowing your hands, your arms to rest however and wherever feels comfortable. Maybe over the weekend or in the days further ahead, see if you can check in your relationship to the space that you inhabit and the space around you. Maybe try to take up a little bit more of that space if it feels comfortable, if it feels useful to do so. Well done, guys. Thank you very much for joining this morning. I hope it was interesting in parts. Have a wonderful weekend and a lovely week. See you later.
Thank you.
Pleasure. See you later.
Bye.